Okay, this is a joke 12th video in this series. Actually, I have no idea what number it is, obviously. So to review, we're getting ready to actually change the tube in this flat tire that's not flat. I have taken away my stool, so I'm more likely will really be out on the road or on the trail repairing this. To recap, I've made myself comfortable in that I am sitting on the ground. I have made sure that I'm safe, and I've tried to manage my temperature in that keep myself either cool or keep myself from getting cold. I've laid my bike down safely on its side, on the non-derailer side. If I have water bottles, I'm going to make sure they're closed, or else they're going to drain all my water out while I'm repairing my tube. I'm changing my tube. I got my tools out. I'm not going to lose anything. This is optional but wonderful, something like this to wipe the grease off the hands, because the hands are going to get dirty afterwards. I am going to use this chuck to use a CO2 canister instead of my favorite thing, which is a dual chuck and air canister chuck and manual pump, but I've got a manual pump if I need. And I've got a threaded CO2, and I've got my tube, and I've got my tire irons, these thin ones I really like and don't take up much space. What else? One point on your bike, besides making sure that your water bottles are closed, also if you have disc brakes, please avoid squeezing your disc brake while you have your wheel off, because you'll make your little pads come in and then you're going to have a hell of a time getting your wheel back on. So don't squeeze your brakes when you're laying down the bike. Okay, so I'm hoping you know whether you have Presta or Schrader valve stem. Most of us have Presta on modern bikes and nicer bikes. Presta's the thinner one. First thing we're gonna do is look, listen, and feel. That sounds like CPR instructions, by the way. So I'm gonna inspect the outside of my tire, because I wanna see if there's any obvious deformity or something sticking in it. I'm gonna feel, and I don't know what I'm gonna listen for right now. Since I'm potentially on the road, I'm gonna listen to make sure that no car is coming. Also, so that I can be safe. If I'm on a trail, the other thing is get yourself off the trail, because another mountain biker is probably gonna come barreling down it. So I don't see any obvious thing that caused the flat. If you do find a thorn or a piece of glass in it, go ahead and take it out, but note where it was. So this tire is actually not flat, so I'm going to release the Okay, now I have an actual flat tire. And that's my cat Lingling. She'll be involved in this video as she pleases. You'll need to take the little, I don't know what this is, a washer that holds the valve stem, keeps it from dropping down. Not even everyone bothers to put them on. First thing you want to do is you want to go around and use your thumbs to push the tire off of the, I guess, the rim, make it loose. I'd go ahead and do both sides. And I'm using my thumbs and pushing. One big disadvantage of being a woman is our hands just aren't as strong as most men. So changing the tire is hard because of that. Okay, the next thing is getting my tube ready. This is my spare tube. I'm gonna open it up. I'm gonna go ahead and take its cap off. I'm gonna open up the little end of the Presta valve, and you may not be able to see that, but oh well, I'm not a videographer. I'm looking at my tube, make sure it looks all right, and I'm gonna go ahead and I've got this little valve open. I'm gonna blow a little air in it. And then I'm gonna close it down. And that just gives your tube a little bit of shape. I may put a little bit more in it later. So I've got my tube ready. I've got my actual tire just free from the rim. It's loose. Now's the place for the tire iron. Now some people can do this without tire irons, but I can't. So the tire iron has a little lip. You want to press down on the tire, and you want to get the little lip and the curved part under what's called the bead of the tire. And then you want to make sure, because it's just good practice, that you're not also getting the tube that is under the tire, because you want to practice not doing that. And I'm lifting it up. Now you want to try to just work it around. And this takes strength. And we'll talk about a little bit more about this in a minute. So I'm just using one, and I've really got it free now. All the way around. Okay, so on one side of my tire, I have the bead of the tire free, totally free from the rim. Okay, good. That went all right. Next thing I'm gonna do is actually, I'm just gonna leave that one side loose from the rim, and I'm gonna take the tube out. Partially out. I'm gonna take it out, and I'm just gonna look at it and inspect it and see if I see a hole. What I'm trying to avoid is putting a tube right back in that is then going to immediately get flat, because there could be a piece of glass stuck in the tire. There could be a defect on the rim itself that is poking through. And so if you can identify the source of the flat, then you have a much better chance when you put the new tube in that it won't immediately go flat. So I'm looking carefully, and that's one reason I've left everything in place. Notice I have not taken the tube loose out of the rim. If I don't find anything, I'm gonna look with my eyes inside of the tire for any defect. And then if I don't see anything, I'm actually gonna take my fingers around. Be careful, because it could be glass, and I'm gonna feel for something. If all that fails, I'm going to do the same thing looking at the rim. Is your rim tape broken in an area? Is there a piece of metal, teeny tiny piece of metal sticking up from one of the rim holes, the spoke holes itself? And is that causing a flat? Feel for that. If you find something like that, you can look up other repairs, but you can put a $1 bill over it, or a $100 bill if you want to be fancy, or you can try to just get rid of the little piece of metal yourself, or pull out the glass from the tire or the thorn from the tire. If you don't find anything, just make sure, double check everything, that there's nothing that could have caused that hole. The other thing you can do is you can use your pump and re-pump up the tube before you take it out. And that's where you're going to listen. Can you hear air escaping from the tube anywhere? So do your best to identify the source of the flat. I'm going to pause there, just because this is getting long, And the next step will be actually putting the new tube in.